Hello friends, how are you doing today? My name is Mary and this is Happily Ever Esch. And today I am wanting to share with you the books that I have checked out from the library. So I was going through my pile and I tend to check out more books than I could ever hope to read in the time that I am allowed to keep them. But I still like to share them with you guys because I think it's highlighting some books that I think sound really interesting. A lot of times I like to browse the new release section. So even though I don't always finish the books, I still find value in this, but I would like to know if you also find value in this, because like I said, I don't usually read all of the books that I check out, but I still like to share them. So I probably still will go ahead and share them, but I would be interested to know if you guys find any value in just hearing about books that people are interested in. You know, it's almost kind of just like giving a little highlight to some books. And I mean, even if you think about it, like book hauls are like that too, for a lot of people, because not everyone reads all the books that they buy. A lot of times they sit on their shelf, they might not ever get read. So it's not really any different. It's just that this seems a little different because there is a timeline that these have to go back to the library. So I don't know. I was just thinking about that this morning, so I would be interested to know if you have an opinion on that. But let's just go ahead and get started. I will link my October TBR up here, and down in the description box below there's some other books that I checked out that are actually on my TBR that I'm currently reading that I'm not gonna double book. So if you want to see some more library books, you should go check that video out. If not, no big deal. So the first book that I've checked out is Another Day in the Death of America, a chronicle of 10 short lives, and this is by Gary Jung. I'm not exactly sure, but that's his last name. And this is a very intense nonfiction book that is looking at one day in America and all of the lives that were taken of young people due to gun violence. And I've only read the intro to this book and I found it absolutely enthralling, and I'm so excited to continue with this. I checked this out right after the mass shooting that happened in Las Vegas because I think that's, as a reader, our response a lot of times. I wanted to read about it and to not forget and to not just put it off as another thing. I wanted to engage in some way that I could with that tragedy. And so I checked this out like a couple days after that happened, and just to read the introduction to this was just so eye-opening, because Gary does talk about how as Americans, and with just the excessive gun violence that happens, we can kind of be desensitized to it. And I definitely feel that. I definitely feel myself doing that, like being upset and angry, but you know, we hear about it, you know, constantly. His introduction really talks about that, but then also is so eye-opening to just the everyday casualties of gun violence. And in this, he's particularly looking at children, so I think under the age of 19 is the cutoff. But in one day, the 10 lives that were lost, and that on average 7 children are killed every day in America, and how that's not even talked about, or if it is, it's in small news media outlets. It's again because we're desensitized as Americans to gun violence, and that you know, there are more young people dying every year than there are in, you know, the mass shootings. And not that mass shootings aren't disgusting and terrible tragedies, but just to look at the gun violence that's happening in the everyday, and how much bigger of a problem, and how we should be outraged, you know. And so anyway, that was a jumbled mess, but I'm excited to continue on with this because I think it's going to be very moving and very powerful. And I'm definitely going to, I think, read this, either finish it this month or maybe read it for nonfiction November. But I will mention that Gary is not an American. He is from the United Kingdom, so he also kind of has a different perspective, because gun violence doesn't happen in the United Kingdom like it does in America. And so his perspective is kind of unique in that, but he is a journalist, and so he does try to take as unbiased of a look as you can, but he's obviously wanting readers and people to see the tragedies that are happening because of gun violence in America. So anyway, rambliness on that, but I'm excited to finish this. I think it's going to be a hard read, but I was so moved just already by the introduction, so there's that one. Next, I have volume 2 in the Amulet series. This is the Stonekeeper's Curse, middle grade graphic novel series. I read the first one and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to continue on. The first one definitely had a lot of world building and setup, so I think that this one, the story is really going to start to get rolling, and they're quick, and I think it'll be something good just to throw in when, you know, you want to accomplish something. That's what's good about graphic novels. You can sit down and read it and feel very accomplished at the end, and so yeah, I'm excited to continue on. Next, I have Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. And this was nominated, shortlisted for the Man Booker. I think that the Man Booker has been announced and this did not win, but a lot of people have spoken very highly about this novel. I think this deals with a lot of themes of refugees, of tragedies that are happening that cause refugees, and I think there's some magical realism elements in this. And I think it's also a little bit of a love story. So it's not very long. It sounds very timely and very important with things that are going on in the world, especially in Syria and the huge refugee crisis that's happening there. I also think that this book kind of tackles the theme of like what is like living life, especially in the midst of tragedy and turmoil and just upheaval in your world. And I think that this is going to be a really important read, and like I said, I've heard really good things, so excited to read that one. Excited to read them all, even though I'm probably not going to get to them all. Next, I have Hum If You Don't Know the Words, and this is by Bianca Moraes. I've heard really, really great things about this book. So this book is set in apartheid South Africa. The author is actually South African, so I love that she's telling her story from her experiences, so I'm really excited about that. And this follows 2 female characters, one a young white girl who has lost her parents, and then also a black woman who has lost her child and is trying to find her child. And I think that their storylines interweave. I'm excited to read from their voices. And I've never read anything set in apartheid South Africa, so I think that I should learn more about that. I'm hoping to get some good historical context through a novel. So, and I think with the author being South African, I hope that to get that. So yeah, I've heard that this is beautiful, and yeah, I will eventually be reading this one, whether it's in the next month or not. So next I got Ruin and Rising. I don't know why I'm holding it like that, because I have coffee in my other hand. Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This is the 3rd in her Grisha trilogy. I've kind of hummed and hawed about whether I'm going to finish this trilogy, but I really want to before I pick up her Six of Crows duology. And I really enjoyed the first one, but the second one was just kind of meh to me. And I think I had waited too long to read it. And then now I'm waiting even longer for this one. So I don't know if I'll actually pick this one up, but new releases in my library is right by the YA, and I just was taking a browse in the YA and decided I'd go ahead and pick this up. Maybe I'll pick it up on audio and see if my Overdrive has it. I tend to like to listen to YA fantasy on audio, but this follows the Grisha universe, which is kind of loosely based on Russia. It's a very cool setting. They have a very interesting magic system that kind of plays off the elements. I didn't think that it was, you get a lot of background for that, and that's why I think I had a hard time remembering what was going on in the second book, because I didn't get a good basis of the magic system, and so that it was very confusing when I was trying to go back and piece it all together. But I do like the characters. I like Bardugo's writing style, and I don't know. I just feel like this is gonna kind of be meh. Do I want to waste my time on a meh book? I don't know. So have you finished the series? Do you have an opinion? Let me know. Have you listened to the audio? Is it good? Is there an audio? I'm assuming there is. Anyway, ramblies on that book, but I checked that one out. And then last but not least, I checked out The History of Bees, and I am so excited about this one. So this is by Majal Lund. But this is dystopian and it sounds so good. This has been compared to Station 11, which I loved, and if it's that kind of dystopian post-apocalyptic book, I'm for that story. It follows 3 different storylines. I think a beekeeper in like the mid 1800s, then like present day, who is also a beekeeper, and I think maybe set in Ohio, and then we also follow a future perspective of a Chinese woman in 2098, and I believe that all the bees have disappeared and they now pollinate the crops and the flowers like bees would. And so I think it's going to be really cool to follow those 3 perspectives. They're all kind of tied together by bees. I think that this is going to have some interesting things to say about what we're doing to our environment, but also that dual perspective, and like one of those perspectives is from post-apocalyptic world. I love that. That was like one of my favorite things about Station 11. So yeah, and this cover is lovely. But I saw this in the new releases and I had to pick it up, so I did. So that is my little book haul from the library. I'm really excited about all of them, and even if I don't get to them and I have to take them back to the library, they're not going to disappear. I think I get anxiety sometimes about the library, that I need to keep them because I won't be able to get them again. Like, that's the whole point of a library. You can take them back and check them back out. So, but I am really interested in those, and it's been good to look through them and have some options for the end of October. So I'd love to know what you've checked out recently, what you've bought, what you're excited about, what are you reading? Let's chat about it in the comments, and let me know if you have any opinions on anything that I've discussed in this video or on any of the books that I've mentioned. I'd love to know. So I hope that you guys are having a great day, and I hope to talk to you very soon. Bye.